Okay, everybody. Hello, 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 and welcome, welcome, welcome. We are now live on air. I tell you what, we were just having a good old time. Yeah. A fun time with our friends there on TikTokers. Appreciate y'all being here. It's Friday. It is Friday. Happy Friday to you wherever you are in this beautiful world. Yeah, you know what? It's been an interesting week to say the least. As you know, I was not here last week. The reason being, obviously, is because we were on church retreat. And so when we're on church retreat, but we are now live here. And I appreciate all of you guys being here. Happy Friday to you, wherever you are. In Kentucky, this is a very special day. This is Oaks Day. And tomorrow, by the way, is the Kentucky Derby. So, yeah, it's going to be good times. We're looking for it. I've always loved Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby. It's just something very special. I think it is really special about it. But nonetheless, I got to see American Pharaoh, and I tell you what, that's an unbelievable horse. My goodness, he won the Triple Crown when it was like 25, 27 year, since another horse won the Triple Crown. Boy, what a majestic horse! My goodness gravy. Okay, everybody. So hello. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you. Hopefully, you're having a good Friday. And hopefully, and if you're not, well, then stick around and maybe we can kind of, I don't know, change, put you in a good mood. Yeah. The Bigfoot right there, and Bigfoot, well, right there for you guys, for Facebook and KGN. There we go. And you guys on TikTok is big. Yeah. Judy Ann picked that up. Judy, isn't it awesome? It's a pretty cool. I think it's a very good addition to Fridays. So I love it. I absolutely love it. I fell in love with that sign behind me. When I saw it, I thought, I got to get it. I've got to get this. And so there we go. If you want to go to my website, it's very, very simple. The website is bishopjameslong.com. bishopjameslong.com. And by the way, I do have classes that we do have available for you. And okay, and if you want to head over there, they're free for the hater gators out there that do this all day. You don't ever do anything. Well, you know what? I've gotten 4 classes that took me almost a year to complete, and they're free. So they're hater gators. Anyway, the classes are free. And anyway, check them out. We would love for you to do so, and I think you'll really enjoy them too. You learn demonology, angelology, paranormal studies, and genealogy, all free. And so all you got to do is click on the class link, I think. And there you go. And good. Our friend Bishop Campbell is in here. He's a friend of mine, good friend of the communities. And I also encourage you, if you can, please, and hopefully I don't embarrass him too much, but if you could do me a favor, and if you could go to my website, bishopjameslong.com. And if you could head on over there, and you'll see a fundraiser link. Now, Bishop Campbell and his wife, they have a lot of health issues, and he's devoted his entire life to ministry. And he is not one of those get rich quick preachers. He doesn't preach that nonsense. And he is truly devoted. He is a warrior for God. But they've had a lot of health issues. And because they've had a lot of health issues, they get a lot of bills. So if you would please do me a favor, thank you. Head on over to bishopjameslong.com, click on the retreat, not the retreat, I've got to take the retreat down, by the way. Click on the fundraiser link. And if you could donate something to him, that would be wonderful. Look, I know you guys don't know him, but let me introduce something as well that you might want to get to know him. Thank you, Mr. Producer. And there it is right there. For those of you on Facebook and YouTube, if you click on the fundraiser, bishopjameslong.com, click on the fundraiser link, and there you go. It goes directly to him. And we would appreciate that, and so would he. And here's why I tell you this is fundamental. What he has been very instrumental in helping us offer a chaplaincy program to you guys. There's a lot of people who have asked me about, how can I be a chaplain? And what do we have to do? Is it expensive? Etc. Well, let me explain something to you. This is my chaplain badge. And they are recognized. And I'm telling you now, I've been a chaplain for, over 25 years now. And so this is their badge that they have. It is a beautiful, absolute gorgeous badge. Now, if you have no training and you would like to have training, they do have a really in-depth training program. And they can actually start you as an associate. So even if you're not ordained, that's okay. They have literally a program for every single person who is considering being a chaplain. There's chaplains in, goodness gracious, I mean, hospitals, nursing homes, police chaplains, firefighters. I mean, there's desperate need for chaplains right now. I mean, really, truly. So if you've thought about ministry and you've thought about maybe being a chaplain, but have no training, maybe no education, they give you the training. I mean, seriously, guys, take advantage of this. Yep, it's virtual training. You don't have to go to a school building. It's all online. You will be assigned a mentor as well, a mentor who has been a chaplain for a long time to also teach you. I'm telling you guys. And then if you have no experience whatsoever, you can be an associate chaplain. And then as they continue to train you, then you can go into full chaplaincy and you can order a badge. And they're recognized. So they're a very reputable organization. So here's what I want you to do. If you're interested, you need to email Dr. Campbell. So, yep, women can be chaplains. Absolutely. Absolutely. So even if you have no theological background, let's say you have no theological training, but you want to start somewhere, this is the organization to do it. You don't have to have a degree. They will train you. And this is the email. All right, everybody. Dr. Campbell. Matter of fact, I am going to copy the address here and put it in the chat for everybody on. There we are. So it's, yep, Dr. Campbell. Thank you, Bill. Dr. Campbell at aahea.org. And what you do is you send him a message. Yep, there it is, guys. You can screenshot it right now on TikTok. You can screenshot it, send him a message and say, yep, I heard about this on Bishop Long show and I want to know more about it. And they will provide all the information. And there it is. I have actually, we were there. I sit and we look through all the meetings and I've seen the training manual. It is really, honestly, fantastic. It is fantastic. And I don't say that lightly. So I want to make that very clear. If I thought it was junk, I wouldn't be a part. To be honest with you, if I thought it was, I would not be a part of this. I would not be a chaplain with this organization. It is really well done. So nope, you're not too old. There's no discrimination. They accept if you're a woman, you're welcome. If you have no training, you're welcome. Let's say maybe you made some mistakes in life and you're trying to turn your life around, you're welcome. If you are 90 years old, you're welcome here. So there's no discrimination. You just love the Lord and want to serve as a chaplain. You're never too old, never. So don't let any type of idea or ideology to think that this is an impediment. It is not. You can have this opportunity. Please take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. They're a really good organization. Okay. Now, Michael, let's not. If you're going to come in here and be rude, I'm going to block you because I think that's inappropriate. So we don't do that here, Michael. And I think that's very disrespectful for what you just said. So you should be heartily ashamed. And we're not going to tolerate trolls in here. We're just not. So just be respectful to us as I am respectful and have always been to you. And so show some respect. Show some respect. Anyway, as far as what's the length of time, it really just depends on you and your desire to get through the program. So, okay. All right. And also the church's website is usocc.org, usocc.org. And you can go there and head over there. Yeah, a lot of people, you don't have to have an MDiv, a Master's of Divinity. And by the way, you go to theology, you go to seminary, which they charge you an arm and a leg to get an MDiv. So they do charge you, if you go to the seminary, you're going to have to pay in order to get that degree. So, I mean, all degrees, you have to pay for it. And that's just the way it is. I mean, if you want to go to the seminary, you've got to pay. I had to have student loans. That's just the way it is. It doesn't invalidate it. It just simply says it's not everything can be just here. Let me just give. Oh, so yeah, it's but anyway. And for those of you on TikTok, I will turn the chat on for everybody in about an hour or so. Okay, now let's get into our show tonight because I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully you are as well. Before we do this, I want to make the announcements. Next week, we're going to have a gentleman on who escaped from North Korea twice. He lives in the States. And he is going to be, I know normally we talk paranormal on Fridays, but this was such an amazing opportunity. It's very rare, ultra rare, that you get to speak to anybody who has escaped from North Korea twice. And so I thought, you know what, I need to bring him on for a Friday show so that KGRADB could be a part of it as well, everybody, because it is truly pretty remarkable. Yeah, and by the way, our AAHEA accredits a seminary, the seminary program we have. So anyway, there's wonderful opportunities for you. Make sure you take advantage. Today we have a very cool guest, and I've known this gentleman for a little bit. We've met, and it's been a while, but he's a good guy, and I really do like what he stands for. And so our special guest this evening is my friend, Dr. Bill Slevin. Now, he's a world-renowned paranormal investigator, a parapsychologist, a demonologist, researcher, and educator with over 36 years of experience. He does have a PhD in parapsychology and metaphysical humanistic science. I'm going to speak to him about that. I think I would love to have that. I just think that's phenomenal. He has dedicated his entire life to uncovering the mysteries of the unknown. Now, from a young age, Bill immersed himself in studying paranormal phenomena, combining paranormal experiences with rigorous research to become a well-respected figure in the field. He has conducted well over 1,000 residential investigations, I hear that, specializing in helping families deal with possible hauntings and unexplained activity. Now, as a demonologist, he is frequently called upon by other teams to consult on dark and potentially dangerous demonic cases. Dr. Slevin has appeared on Discovery Plus, Travel Channel, Destination America, Max, Paraflix, and has been featured in international radio shows, podcasts, magazines, and newspapers. He's also the proud member of the Ghost Club UK, the world's oldest physical research organization founded in 1862. Inspired by paranormal pioneers Ed and Lorraine Warren. Very cool. I actually knew Lorraine. I was friends with Lorraine. I did not know Ed. But he was inspired by them. And so Bill works closely with some of their successors and family members, currently serving as CTO and a director for the Warren Society for Paranormal Research, founded by Joe Frank, and the prior 3 years serving as a manager and director for the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. Bill is also the founder of the Paranormal Existence Research Society. It's a nonprofit team based in Coral Springs, Florida, with branches across Florida, Georgia, Nebraska, New England, UK, Italy, and Greece, and soon expanding to Brazil. So this organization provides free assistance to those experiencing paranormal activity, prioritizing compassion, honesty, and education. He is a sought-after speaker educator. Dr. Slevin appears as a guest speaker at conventions, conferences, schools, libraries worldwide, bridging the gap between myth and reality in the paranormal world. So let's bring on our friend. Hello there, Bill. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, I'm good. Thanks for your willingness to jump on and chat with us today.
Sure. I'm honored to be on.
Yeah, we've been in the field for a long, long time.
Yes.
I guess what someone called me an OG. So we are OGs, Bill.
Yes.
We're the OGs, brother. We're the OGs. We're the OGs, boys and girls. When we communicated through Yahoo groups before Facebook and YouTube and all this other Twitter and MySpace, that's how we communicated, through Yahoo groups. And that was the thing. Do you remember when GeoCities came out? The Yahoo GeoCities? Boy, that was the thing.
Oh yes.
Man,
yeah.
If you had a website in Yahoo GeoCities, you were really, you were dialing it in there. You were dialing it in. You were one of the, but that's, this was way before, social media. So, but yeah, right. I appreciate, I before I chat about the presentation, our questions, I've got to ask, I absolutely would love to look into parapsychology and metaphysical humanistic science. I think that would be phenomenal. Where should one go if they're really interested in pursuing that?
Well, where I got my degree was the IMHS, the International Metaphysical Humanistic Science. It's a really, really good course. I'll tell you, when I first started it, I was lost. I was way confused. When you're doing the metaphysical part at the beginning, it's very different. It's very involved. It's not what I expected at first, but it's something I was really glad that I did and went through. It's not a quick thing.
Yeah.
It does take some time.
Sure. Well, and that's really, honestly, if I've always found that if someone is not willing to devote the time and energy into their own research and studies, then they probably shouldn't be in that particular field.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So, okay. So let's, all right, let's get into this. So tell the world, who are you? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
So, like you had said a little bit there, I've been in the field for 36 years. I'm an investigator, a parapsychologist, demonologist, researcher, and educator. And I've been doing this since my first case was in '89. So I've been doing this well into the beginning of the '80s, and it was very, very different back then. It's not like it is today. So I started the Paranormal Existence Research Society a while back because I wanted to put together good people that understood how to do residential cases, because it's, as you know, it's not like you see on TV. And we deal with a lot of people that have psychiatric illness and addiction and fear and a lot of things besides paranormal. And to me, it's important to have people that know how to be compassionate and how to deal with people, rather than just people who have 20, 30 years experience investigating.
Right.
Because you can teach people how to investigate and how to use certain equipment and things like that, but you can't teach people how to be a human being, which made me want to go around and handpick people for a team after being on many, many teams over my life.
That's one of the reasons why I started many years ago, and I gave Rich Valdez the Paranormal Clergy. I started it because, and I've always told everybody, if you're going to be a part of the USOCC as investigators, then you must be pastoral. If you're doing this for, to be famous on YouTube or whatever, then go away. Seriously, go away. We're not interested in you. And you have to, because let me just say something very quickly. I realize there are people who have misconceptions about paranormal investigators. Well, let me just explain something very quickly. I am eternally grateful as clergy for people like Bill and his team, the Paranormal Existence Research Society. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm one person. I don't have a plane. I haven't won the lottery. And when there is a case in California or Florida or Texas or whatever it might be, I rely heavily on teams that I know I can count on, that are pastoral, that try to debunk the activity, that doesn't think everything is demonic. And then they supply that information, the evidence to me. These people are the unsung heroes. Truly, I believe this within the paranormal community, because it takes hours and hours to investigate, thousands of dollars to buy the equipment. Then you have to leave your house, travel sometimes hours to get to the home, then investigate, which could take who knows how long. Then you have to go through all the evidence and drive by. You got to drive back home.
Yep.
The amount of money that these people invest, that these paranormal teams invest in this truly passion of theirs, it should be applauded, not attacked, not vilified, because they go through all the evidence and then teams say, okay, here's all the evidence. This is what we found. That saves me so, because then I can get to the case immediately if it's demonic, because all the real heavy work has been done. So I am really very, very grateful. Yeah, like I said, plus the equipment is very expensive. The equipment's not cheap. So
no.
So you've been in the paranormal field for 36 years. So how did your journey begin? What initially drew you to the world of the unexplained?
So when I was little, I mean, I was always, for some reason, drawn to paranormal horror. Stuff didn't scare me. It made me question everything. I wanted to know what was real, what wasn't. I started having some experiences myself, and I didn't know if I was going crazy, if I was, having an issue, or I was really experiencing something. And, growing up in a Catholic household, you didn't talk about that too much. And especially back then, before it was in the mainstream, you really didn't talk about it much. So it's one of those things where, like, I'm an empath. So I can feel the energy and emotions of the living and the dead when I'm doing this. And back then, when I was young, say 10 years old, I don't know what an empath is. Nobody talked about that like they do today.
Right.
So I just knew something wasn't right. I would go to even say like a family party, and all of a sudden I would become depressed, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't because I was depressed. It was because I was picking up on somebody else in the room, and I was feeling their emotions. But who knows? I didn't know what that was, and I didn't even know what to look for. It was many years later that I found out what that was. I just, didn't understand what I was going through. It's kind of the things that made me start looking into everything and trying to figure out what was real, what wasn't, and what this was all about. I had to draw, I was drawn to it.
And at what age did you start actually investigating?
So my first actual investigation, which back then was very hard to do because, like I said, people didn't talk about it. So there wasn't a lot of teams all over the place. The people that needed help, they weren't running around looking for teams. They thought they'd be locked up in the mental institution, So it was not until 1989 that I was actually brought onto a residential investigation. But before that, I mean, I went out on my own to cemeteries and things, just trying to see what I could find from the research I've done, and learning a little bit, because we didn't have a lot of the equipment back then. So 1989 was my first case. And
how old were you then for your first case?
I was 19.
Wow. So that's yeah. I mean, that it grabs you, and it just doesn't ever let you go. It's one of those things. It's just like in your DNA. I get that. I tell it. My actually first experience was, I think, 35 years ago. That was at Waverly Hills. That was the very first time. That's when prior to the Mattingleys, the owner didn't really care who went up there, and you could do whatever you wanted to up there. And well, that was way before any paranormal teams went up there and investigated, because I live in Louisville, so it's there,
right.
So, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about your very first paranormal experience. How did it shape the direction of your life?
So it's kind of difficult on that one. So like I said, the experiences I had when I was young, I didn't know 100% what they were. So they definitely guided me into looking into things. But actually, right before I went on that first case, a little bit earlier in that year, was the first time I saw a full-bodied apparition, which kind of solidified the way it happened and the way everything happened. It kind of solidified all the stuff I had been learning about, and to actually see it, because it's not a rare thing that you see. I mean, it is a rare thing. It's not a common thing that you see all the time. So it was something that the way it happened made me understand, okay, you know, what I'm learning about and everything is real. And
Yeah.
I think that helped push me a little bit.
I mean, was that a full, you said a full body apparition?
Yes.
That's folks. Let me tell you something. When you see a full body apparition, it makes you question everything, because those. I mean, it's interesting when you experience that. So, was there a defining moment when you realized that this wasn't just like an interest, a thing that you do on a Friday morning or Friday night because you're bored and you want to get scared, but actually a calling? And I've preached that now for years and years, but an actual calling.
Right. I will tell you that was the first case.
Okay.
Because I tell everybody the thing about my first case was I was asked by it was a friend of mine who had another friend that knew somebody, you know, that had a team, and they had a person that was sick, and they needed a third person to go with them on the, you know, investigation. So I went with them. I didn't know a lot. I was all excited to go investigate, you know, an actual home.
Sure.
And these people had never been there before. They just knew the old lady was having some issues. This was in Jersey. I used to live in New Jersey. And we got to the house and we walked in. I'm going to do the short version. When we walked in, we were there for, no joke, 15 minutes tops in the main room. And this was very different back then. So like the guy had a big shoulder mounted camera, you know, and the other guy had a reel to reel recorder. And all of a sudden the guy next to me, he threw his camera lens, his whole camera lens first to the floor and screamed like I've never heard.
Wow.
And we flipped the lights on. I looked at him and he pulled his shirt over his head and he had 3 scratch marks like razor blades from his neck to the bottom of his spine. I tell everybody my first case happened to be a rare demonic case. That's why I say I feel it was my calling, because most people would have run for their life from that place and never gone back. But I had a million questions of what was going on, and it made me go down the rabbit hole because I was, you know, I didn't know a lot back then. So I'm going, why didn't it attack me? I didn't know anything about protection back then. Why did it attack him? Why was it, you know, what was it? What was it doing in the house?
Sure.
There was so many questions when I left there. That's where I feel it was a calling, because I do believe a lot of people would have run for their lives. It is a frightening thing. Ghosts in a house is not a big deal, but demonic is completely different.
And for those of you that's joining us, so I'm Bishop Long. We're having our Paranormal Friday show. We're talking to my friend, Dr. Bill. He is a investigator, paranormal investigator, parapsychologist, demonologist, researcher, educator. He has 36 years of experience. He has a PhD in parapsychology and metaphysical humanistic science. And he's talking about, he's conducted well over 1,000 residential investigations. And of course, he's been on quite a few television shows, Discovery Plus, Travel Channel, Destination America, Max, Paraflix, etc. And so we're talking about his experience within the paranormal and the cases that he has worked. And now I do have a question that's off, maybe a little bit, throw you off a bit, and I hope that's okay. So
Sure.
Danny, sorry, Danny, I just threw you under the bus. Danny's wanting me to ask you about orbs. And
okay, so this is somebody I guarantee you I know.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely, because everybody knows one of the things that I preach about at my lectures is about orbs. I don't like to piss anybody off with this or discredit their stuff, but the problem is a lot of misconceptions about what a true orb is. There are real orbs. They're very rare. I've seen 3 in my 36 years, and you will see them with your eyes. They are solid 3D balls of energy, where it's believed to be a spirit or a demon trying to manifest itself into the room by pulling the energy from the room. The things you see on the Ring cameras and the security cameras and everything, look, nobody knows 100%, of anything. But those can be easily debunked with science and electronics, and because a real orb, which is solid energy, cannot be transparent or translucent, and it cannot reflect light. It has its own light. So if that little ball flew into your living room with your security camera on, your security camera would actually be tricked and go into daytime mode, just like you turned a lamp on in the room. And it's one of the things I talk about a lot. And I know a lot of people want to believe that, it's grandma flying around because there was a piece of dust that floated by. And that's fine. I mean, whatever makes you, happy, that believe what you want to believe. But it's something, the one thing I didn't talk about with you yet is, besides what I do, I have 33 years in the technology field. I'm an IT director.
Very cool.
So yeah, I know a lot about technology. I know about apps. I know the facility I just was working with for 12 years. We had like 142 cameras. I know everything about cameras and how they work, and I can show you orbs on those cameras every night. So I'm not just coming from only opinion. I'm coming from an actual background in technology also.
Yeah, and folks, here's the deal. Now look. Listen. Most of the time, everybody sends me orbs. Most of the time, they're bugs. And so for example, there's this one clown, and I'm sorry, it's a clown. He's going around YouTube. He holds a camera or not a cross up, and he's going through weeds, and he's kicking up weeds, and a person behind him has a camera. It's a night camera, and all these orbs, and people are like, oh my, and he's performing an exorcism on these orbs. People, they're bugs. He's literally in the weeds, kicking up bugs, kicking the weeds, so that bugs show up and everybody thinks, oh, look at all those spirits. And they actually think it's real demons. Come on, guys, really, seriously. So that kind of, I'm not kidding you. Thousands of people follow this account, and I'm thinking they're bugs. He's in the weeds.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, put two and two together. It's not, or dust particles. All right. Did you ever have moments of doubt? And by the way, if you have questions, for those of you on TikTok, you can throw your question in there. If you're a subscriber, we will open the chat open for everyone in a little while. But have you ever had moments of doubt about pursuing this path? And how did you move past those doubts?
Well, I mean, there's been I think it was more at the beginning because it was very hard to research back then.
Yeah.
We didn't have internet. You didn't have TV shows. You didn't have a lot of people to talk to. So you could only go in and find the books you could find in the library, and to even through that to understand what was real. So there was doubts along the way. I think when I saw that apparition, and then it was only a couple months later where I had the first investigation, I think those helped me get out of that. I mean, there has been a few times throughout the years where you kind of question sometimes what you're doing, because we do this for free. Yep. Because we want to help people, and we don't think it's ethical to charge, Yeah. And there's a lot of times where you encounter, like what I tell people, our hardest, at least my hardest thing to deal with is convincing somebody they're not haunted. And it's a very frustrating thing when you're there trying to talk to them and trying to get them help. You would think by telling them it's nothing, they should be excited. But the problem was later on is that they're not, because even though they're calling this in as a professional team, if they don't see you on TV every week, they don't look at you as you're maybe an expert in the field or know what you're doing. They look at the people on TV as they got to be the ones who know everything, which is why I started putting myself out there the last 6 or 7 years and getting known a little bit and educating a little more and getting out there, because then when we deal with people, they look at us like a little bit more, I guess, acknowledgement of what we do and who I am, because we are there truly to help them. But those are tough. And then, there's a lot of drama in this field right now, but luckily I'm not involved in any of it. The only time you'll see me involved in drama is on the Facebook forums with the orb people.
Oh, I see it.
That's the only people that don't like me.
All right, and of course, that's there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of drama. I tell you what, I've had my fair share. I've always wished that when of course many years ago, that boy, it was vicious. 20 years ago, 25. I mean, it was when online radio was in its infancy. It was vicious. It was, like I said, I've said this before. It was so vicious that people are saying, "Oh, Bishop Long has fake degrees, never went to the seminary." It was so bad. I actually on Facebook I had to post my degrees and transcripts. I didn't have to, but I chose to because that's how much the hate that I was getting.
Yeah,
from people.
Yeah, I mean,
vicious.
That's how these people are. Like, I'll get somebody in a group that when I explain to them about, like, let's say they post a picture of an orb, I'm doing it honestly to try to help them and educate them a little bit. I am very nice. I don't go off on them. Of course, if they start on me, sometimes I do, but I don't normally go off on them. I'm do it very professional and educational, explaining why it happened, what it is, and how to avoid it, and things like that. And then they'll come back at me sometimes and they'll say, "Well, who are you? Why should I believe you?" And then I'll say, "Well, I have 36 years in the field. I have 33 years in the IT field." "Oh, so you have an ego."
You're just establishing credibility.
I mean, I don't know how to deal with some of these people,
right.
so,
Right. No, you can't. You just, because ultimately you have to, you just say, and then it's kind of like, okay, I was a dean of a college. So you have to have regionally accredited degrees in order to be a dean of a regionally accredited college. But it didn't matter. No matter what people said, no matter what they said, there was always those hater gators out there. That's why I say to people all the time, you never accept criticism from someone that you would not go to for advice. Because if they're going to, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. So, because you can't, especially in this field, because as Bill will absolutely testify, when you get into some heavy, dark cases, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, it can take a toll. It really can take a toll. So let's talk about, first of all, what does your family think of your life's work, your dedication, devotion to the paranormal?
Well, sorry, I lost you there for a minute.
What does your family think of your life's work in the paranormal?
That's a funny one. So, like I said, I grew up Catholic. I never really talked about it much. It was many years later that they found out I did anything like this. My mother's still amazed, and when I'm out there talking about this at shows, she comes to some of the events and stuff, but she still does not believe in ghosts. Yeah. And it's funny, and I always say that what I believe is that because, so my grandmother, her mother, I was extremely close to. That's the Italian side of the family that I grew up with in New Jersey. And I was very, very close to my grandmother. She was like another mother. She lived in the house. So when she died of cancer many years ago, I think my mother expected her to come and visit and talk to her and show something, and she never did. And I truly believe that's why she doesn't believe, even though I have as good evidence as you could get, and she still doesn't really believe too much.
Because there are some people that think everything is demonic. So let me just ask you this question. Simple. Let's put this to rest. In your opinion, just a simple yes or no. Do you think everything paranormal related is demonic?
No.
Okay, very good. Because that's a debate that a lot of people, because I've said this, and of course people, oh, he's a fraud, he's a fake. Everything is not demonic. And this is a person who has 36 years of experience speaking to you guys. All right. Now you founded the Paranormal Existence Research Society, otherwise known as PERS. What inspired you to create it, and what makes your team stand out in such a crowded field?
Well, I created it because, to be honest with you, I got sick of being on other teams. There's so much drama where the teams do things. A lot of them just are doing this for fun. Look, if you want to go out and be a ghost hunter and go to local places, and that's all good. We do that at times. But if you're going to do residential cases, you have to be a little more serious, and you have to know what you're doing, or you're going to harm people.
That's right.
So I started my own team because I honestly was just tired of dealing with other people. And it is a lot of work. And I always said I wanted a small team. And I used to have like maybe 5 or 6 people in Florida, and we used to keep it at that. And then it slowly has expanded. I have I think 27 people now, like you said, all through different states and countries. And I really enjoy it because everyone is handpicked by me. And like I said before, they're very specific people. A lot of them have very amazing gifts in different areas. I have people that have things that I do not understand. My teammate Tom, who's the head of my Nebraska team, he can speak to elementals and see elementals. I know very little about elementals when it comes to that. So I have so many people that are good. My wife she's on the team, but she doesn't investigate with us. She's a Reiki master and an energy healer. So we have her work with our clients when they need energy work. She's taught me a lot about energy, so we have a very versed team. And I have Joe Frankie, that's my New England team up north, with who worked with Ed and Lorraine for like 30 years. So we stand out because we do go in and try to help them. We are not going to come in guns blazing with piles of equipment. We're going to talk to them probably on Zoom first and get to know them and see what's going on, and have some of our gifted people on there with us to see what they can see. We're going to possibly ask them for psychiatric evaluations, medical evaluations. We do a lot of very, very, important things to help them the best we can. So that's kind of what made me form it, and kind of why I think we stand out, because we're not going to go, running in there with look, as an IT guy, I have a ridiculous amount of equipment. I do, because I like to try everything and play with all of it. But we use maybe 5% of that equipment in a person's house. None of that stuff is reliable to be in a person's house, except audio, video, and environmental type devices.
For those of you who are just tuning in, I'm Bishop Long. We're talking to our friend, Dr. Bill Slevin, who's a world-renowned paranormal investigator, parapsychologist, demonologist, researcher, and educator. He has 36 years of experience. He has a PhD in parapsychology, metaphysical, humanistic science. Of course, he is also a founder of a respected ghost, I've always like investigation, the Paranormal Existence Research Society. I've hated the term ghost hunter. I've never liked that term. To me, it's just like, there's something problematic for it. But anyway, we're speaking about his experience, and I promise you, I will get to your questions. I promise you. So for those of you on TikTok, if you're subscribers, I'm writing your questions down, and I'll promise you that I will get to them before we open it up for everyone. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, during the opening monologue, I was friends with Lorraine. Unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Ed, and I say unfortunately because I would have loved to just pick his brain and just kind of get his thoughts on certain things. But now you have connections, of course, with Ed and Lorraine Warren. So can you share more about that?
Well, first, I'd like to say I wish I could have had that personal connection with them, which I did not. I knew a lot about them. I studied everything about them. They were pioneers in the field, no matter what people want to believe. I was lucky enough to now work with people either who were related or have had massive amounts of years working with them as students. So I was part of the Warren Legacy Foundation for 3 years. I was a director and a manager that helped run everything over there, which was with Chris McKinnell, the grandson. And now I am part of the new Warren Society for Paranormal Research and Education, which was founded by Joe Frankie. Joe was an original student of Ed and Lorraine back from when he was 18. And he has a long time history with them. He's a great guy. I've gotten to become really, really close friends with him. Me and him actually do shows together and speak together. And it's just great being able to have that connection to learn a little more on the inside about stuff. I also used to be really good friends with Tim Yancey before he passed.
Oh yeah, good Tim. Tim.
Oh, such a great guy. And you know, he was very close. He knew Ed and Lorraine. He was very close with George Lutz from the Amityville house. So I've heard a lot of very good inside stuff, you know. Scotty Burns. You know, there's so many people out there that you get to work with, if you're lucky enough, that have this kind of knowledge that help you further your studies, you know.
You know, that's one thing that does kind of, I don't not necessarily say irritate me, but it does kind of get me a little frustrated because, you know, here's the deal. If you've learned something, if you learn something from perhaps a mentor or somebody that's been in the field for as long as, for example, we have, and I've noticed that a lot of people, and there's nothing wrong with, you know, people then learning it, but please don't take that as if you're the one that created this. Always give credit where credit is due. So if you've learned something from, let's say, clergy or someone like Bill, or even someone like myself, or someone, always give credit, because I've noticed that what people are doing now is they're taking what, for example, the OGs, the people who, when Bill and I started, you got to understand, guys, there was no book on how to do this. You just did it. You just went out there, you went to people's homes, you learned by mistakes, and you gather all the information, you teach. But if you're going, if you say, boy, I didn't think of that, or that's a good idea, and you learn, always, thank you, Nicole, always give credit where credit is due. I've always done that. And I think that's the most respectful thing that you can do to honor that person's legacy. Because otherwise, if you don't, quite honestly, you're stealing and you're not giving credit. And that's one thing that I just think people should kind of avoid.
I mean, I owe everything I have to all the people who taught me at the beginning when I was new and I didn't have anybody to reach out to.
Yeah.
You know, those people taught me, and it's what helped me. That's why I like to teach people. I like to help people learn. You know, everybody needs to have their own style of how they do things, but they need to learn the basics, you know, from people. This is what I always say. Learn from, if you learn from watching TV, that's fine. But go out and learn from the people who are around doing this before the TV show started.
Let me clue you in on everybody. Bill knows this, but let me clue everybody else on this.
Yes.
The paranormal celebrities are not the people that look in a camera and says, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" That doesn't make you a celebrity. Okay, that makes you a person who's able to say, "Did you hear that?" on camera. Paranormal celebrities are the people that answer the calls at 3 or 4 in the morning, that spend thousands of dollars on equipment, that travel to people's homes who they don't owe them anything, but yet they don't charge, not a penny. They spend everything out of their own pocket. They go to their home. They try to explain what's going on. They get clergy involved in cases. Folks, those are the true paranormal celebrities, not anybody who has a camera. Did you hear that? That doesn't make you a celebrity. And anybody can look at anybody look at a camera and flex your muscles. Did you hear that? Again, it doesn't make you a celebrity. So people who are true paranormal celebrities in my mind are the people that you may never hear of. They don't sensationalize people's trauma for financial gain. You know, they're not putting it all over, you know, social media just so they can get likes and lots of money. And while this family over here is suffering, that's evil. I don't think that's appropriate at all. And there's a lot of and Bill, I'm sure you've experienced this too. There's a lot of teams that will go to a person's home, take on demonic cases in which they have no business taking them on, not get clergy involved at all, just so they can get the evidence, run to social media, and then drop the client altogether. And the client's sitting there saying, now what do we do? They just made it worse.
Right. No, that's absolutely. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. You know, I would say almost half our cases wind up being cases that they went to somebody else and either somebody stirred something up or they didn't have anything and they told them that they had a demon or something, and now they're scared out of their minds because they left and they don't know what to do. It's very, like, I'll go back to what you asked earlier about, about demons being rare, demonic cases. I've been well over 1,000 cases. I've had 7 confirmed demonic cases in 36 years. Now, I mean, of course, those are the only ones I've been called into, but 7. It is rare, but it is out there. But people can mess things up if you don't know what you're doing. If you learn from a TV show and you go running into a person's house, you're putting yourself, your team, and the client in danger.
He's right on. So in 25 years, I have performed 33 exorcisms. In 25 years. And I work with psychiatrists. We require psychological evaluations before I even step foot in that family's home. So when I say documented, so I am so exhausted from people thinking everything is demonic. It just simply is not. It just simply is not. Now, you began your work long before the age of the internet and reality TV. So how did your learning and training in the early days differ from how people are introduced to the field now?
That's very different, because like I said, it was hard. We had to go and get in the library and find any book you could find. And there wasn't a lot out there. You had a handful of people that had some interesting information. Nowadays it's very different, because it's good and bad, to be honest. I always say TV shows and internet and everything brought the paranormal out into the forefront to where we can sit here and talk about it like this without getting locked up. So it's great on one side, but it does confuse people, because people are very, influenced by TV and internet. And when they see things, you have to understand there's paranormal and there's paranormal entertainment. And they're two different things. And I like both. I watch the shows. I've been on some. They're a lot of fun, but you can't go by 100% of what they're doing to understand if you have something in your house. Just because you heard a sound in your house doesn't mean, because you saw that on one of the shows, that that's what it is. So the people that learn from just watching TV now, or going online and Googling stuff, the problem is they're looking it up and they don't know if they're finding real info or something written by somebody who knows nothing. And they're learning that, and they're running into people's homes. Go out, like I said, go to some known haunted locations, some cemeteries, whatever, and learn. Like I say, if you buy a piece of equipment, learn what that equipment does. Learn what makes it go off naturally, what can cause it to flake out. Not just buy it, turn it on, and see what happens. Because there's a million things, like we found out with a REM pod. You push the button on a walkie-talkie and it sets the REM pod up. So, you need to learn things like that. So if not, you're just going to go in and you're going to think everything is a ghost. And also the people learning from TV, they don't look into anything into psychology or self-manifestation and energy and things like that. So when they get a call, they go right to the house, assuming we have something haunted. And you can't change that once you walk in. You have to go in thinking, this is nothing. I need to prove it's something.
So now I believe Starla on TikTok, I've Starla asked, in your opinion, are all shadow figures, black shadow figures, that the face are faceless of evil spirits or demons? What are your thoughts on shadow figures?
Shadow figures can be many different things. I don't believe at all that they're always something evil or demonic. I've seen plenty out of, you see a lot of them out of the corner of your eyes. Sometimes it can be the trick of your eyes and your mind. But most of the things I've experienced when it comes to a shadow figure has not been anything that was anywhat dangerous. Now, that doesn't mean it can't be. I mean, if you're in a demonic situation, you might see shadow figures that are from the demons. But I would say for the most part, it's not going to be, oh my God, something's there, dangerous, going to hurt me.
And Sarla, I see your question about conjuring on TikTok. If you can explain that, are you talking about casting? Is that your reference? So Starla, if you could clarify that, and then I can ask. Now, Big Red on TikTok wants to know if he has a video and he wants your opinion on it. Can he send it to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of people send me stuff.
Where would the best place for him to send that to?
Very simple. Bill@billslevin.com.
Bill@billslevin.com. All right, everybody. That's we're not hanging up. I'm just that's the best way. The Bill@billslevin SLEVIN.com. So Big Red on TikTok. You can certainly send him that information, and he will. He said he'll take a look at it. Also, this is a great question. I don't know who asked this. My apologies. I didn't get to see it. Are there any smartphone apps that you believe are credible to use during the paranormal investigation?
Okay. This is about the same as orbs almost. Well, here's the thing. And again, this is coming from somebody in the technology field. I've worked with people who built apps, not for ghost hunting or anything, but apps. So I know what they do. Here's the thing. If you want to take them and go out to the haunted location and the cemetery and play around and see what they do, by all means, have fun. I've tried every one of them just because I want to see what they do. But I will tell you this. The problem with an app, and I in my opinion, I cannot credit any app out there. And the reason being is they're programmed. So there's no reason that, you should believe that something that is fully programmed like this, that costs either free or $2.99 for an app, is going to be something that is some special connection to the paranormal world or the realm. Because a lot of them actually use GPS to know where you are, active listening to know what you're asking, and then AI to respond to you. And then some of the things they mimic, like let's say GhostTube, which mimics an SLS camera. Okay, a real SLS camera, I would believe possibly 1% of the time, if that.
Wow.
Because they're programmed to look for people.
Now, hold on 1 second. If you can explain, for those of you who don't know, again, there's a lot of people asking who we're speaking to. Dr. Bill Slevin. He is a investigator, paranormal investigator, parapsychologist, demonologist, researcher. He has a PhD in parapsychology, metaphysical, humanistic science, and he's speaking about his experience as a paranormal investigator. Now, can you explain what the last device is that you had mentioned? Because there are many people who have no idea what that device is.
Sure. An SLS camera was something that they created from, if you remember back in the time of the Xbox, they had the Kinect, which was the little camera device that came with the Xbox that was used for motion gaming. So what it did was it surveyed the room looking for a person. So it looked for your arms and your legs so it could pick you up for the motion part of the game. It's created by Microsoft. So what they did was they took the SLS camera from the Kinect and they connected to a Windows tablet and got the Windows developer software. And you go in and you have your own little SLS camera, and it produces little stick figures on the screen. The thing is, when you point it at anything, a chair, any kind of furniture, a dress, anything, it will think that's a person. Okay. Because that's what it's designed to do. So it will automatically put it up there and like a stick figure, and people think they're ghosts. The problem is, could it be? There could be, but you have to be in a place that has nothing in the room. I've seen it map out stick figures from wallpaper patterns, lines on the bricks in the wall. I mean, anything you can think of. In all the years of using these, playing around with them, I've had 2 instances that I'm not sure about. 2. And that's it. Because again, we can easily identify what's causing it. Okay. Because it's programmed what to do, So when you take an app and you make an app mimic this device, your phone is not an SLS camera. You know,
Got it.
your phone is not an EMF reader. It's not, you know, it's none of these devices that they make you think it is. And again, you could play around with them, but like Spirit Talker is one of the biggest ones that everybody plays with, and it kind of mimics an ovulus. An ovulus is a device where it's believed that the spirits can manipulate the energy and words come out onto the screen. It uses a word bank. So yes, if something comes along directly with what you're talking about, maybe it could be something. But when you turn on the Spirit Talker device, the ovulus will not spit up words every 5 seconds. The Spirit Talker, if you put it on, just put it on and leave. Here's the perfect test. Put it on, leave the room for an hour and come back. And watch the entire conversation this thing had with nothing. And it's usually dark and scary and evil and get out. And, you know, it's just randomizing words. So, you know.
I know that we had talked about wrapping up around 8, but do you have a little bit extra time? We can chat a little bit more.
Yeah, I could stay.
Okay, so now Nicole is asking a great question. Do you enjoy watching paranormal shows? And if so, and I like to piggyback on that question, are there any films or books, portrayals that you believe that actually got it right? So are there any paranormal shows that you actually enjoy watching? And do you believe any films, books, or portrayals that you believe got it right?
Yes. I actually watch most of the shows.
Okay.
I do enjoy them. They're entertaining, and that's the difference of what people have to understand. It's entertainment. Like, I've been on 7, you know, confirmed demonic cases, and you definitely don't see me scream and run out of the house. That's for ratings and for, you know, whatever. But they're entertaining. I love them. I do watch them all. I support them. I have nothing against them or what they do on there. I mean, they do confuse people a little bit sometimes, a little too much, but I do enjoy them. Now, as far as something that got it right, this is the only thing I really say to people. Watch the TV show Evil. Evil, to me, is so spot on with what they do, because if you haven't seen it, it's a show that combines a guy who's a priest, a person who is a scientist, and a person who is a forensic psychologist. And they're sent out by the church to assess cases. And what I love about it is most of the time, it is not demonic or angels or miracles. It sometimes it could be, but it's not. But they do throw the realism of what's out there into it. Of course, they make it a little comical with their demons is a little too much, but it's what they do is like, I was watching that and I'm going, holy cow, this is what I do. It's the first time I really could say that. That's really what I do. I really enjoy what that show was about.
And again, folks, we'll try to get your questions. If you've asked multiple questions, please understand there's a lot of people asking questions, so we'll do the best that we can. One thing that that as an exorcist for the church, it does kind of drive me a little bit bonkers that demonologists are performing rituals they have no business performing. And and that really bothers me. A demonologist is not necessarily an exorcist. So let me make that clear for everyone. An exorcist is clergy who has been trained in the right to perform an exorcism on an individual who is possessed. A demonologist is one who researches and works cases and is able to know the manifestations of demonic influence or infestation, and then presents that to clergy for them to get involved. I am finding a lot of people who are claiming to be demonologists performing rites they have no business or authority performing. Have you been finding that to be an issue as well?
Oh, yes. Yeah. A lot. Honestly, first of all, I 100% agree with you. As a demonologist, I'm brought in to assess a case to help understand if it could be demonic. And then I do go with the exorcist to help assist. You know, if there's something needed, I am there for those cases, but I would never perform an exorcism. I would not want to do it. It's not, I'm there to help us, to assist. And sure. I do, obviously I'm in the middle of it all, but that is absolutely, in my opinion, for a clergy member. I would never, even honestly, like some of the terms, demonologist. I've been studying demonology for about 30 years. And if you listen to any of my back podcasts or lectures or anything, I used to say I was a demonology specialist because to me, I respected the title. The title was either a clergy member or given to you by a clergy member. And I always said demonology specialist. It's just because of how I am. And then last year, I was given the title by a church. So I now use the title.
Sure.
But there's a lot of people that just say, hey, I looked at a book and now I'm a demonologist.
Because what bothers me greatly as clergy, especially when I studied in the Roman Catholic seminary, it bothers me now that so many people are calling themselves demonologists and they have no prayer life whatsoever. This is not a secular job. It is, when you're a demonologist, and for anybody who's watching, I mean, you dedicate your life to this ministry. It is a ministry. It is a calling from God.
Yeah.
This is different. This is different. If you're a paranormal investigator, that's secular. That's completely and totally different than being called a demonologist, because now you're getting into theology. And if you do not have a prayer life, if you are not devoted to your faith, to God, then one day it will happen. I've seen it time and time again. And Bill, I'm sure you've seen it time and time. People who cosplay demonologists on the weekend, the demons will eat your lunch and spit it out, and your life will become complete and utter mess. So stay away from this, guys. If you're truly, honestly, stay away from this, because there's a big difference between investigating a haunting and then investigating demonic cases. And I'm absolutely confident, Bill, that you would say the same.
Yes.
As a laity demonologist. So Carrie on TikTok is asking, what is the scariest moment that you have ever had during an investigation?
You cut off one word there. What was that again?
Carrie on TikTok is asking, what is the scariest moment that you have had during an investigation?
Every second of those 7 demonic cases.
Yeah.
The stuff that I witnessed during those cases, I tell people, are things I never thought I would see. Mm-hmm. I thought they were only for TV. And they're things that will haunt me forever. During one case, I was knocked about 30 feet across the room by nothing. Wow. And there is nothing scarier than being knocked down on the floor by nothing in front of you. You how do you defend yourself?
Right.
You know, it's a very scary thing. But honestly, anything from those cases, it is a terrifying thing. And like I said, I believe it's a calling, because I do it because I want to help people. I never look forward to a case where I'm called in if it could be possibly demonic. I don't look forward to it, but I will do it to help.
Yeah. For me, it's not secular. This is theology. So you're called, you have a special calling to serve in these cases from God. If you don't have a calling, leave it alone. Leave it alone, friends. Right. If you're watching, please leave these cases alone, because not only are you going to hurt yourself, but you could hurt the families, because you could cause the activity to increase if you don't know what you're doing. Right. And then you have a real world of hurt, and that's what you don't want to do. I believe it's, and I apologize if I mispronounced the word, Hoagson. Do you believe that demonic cases are on the rise from the cases you've worked and been in the field? Do you believe that they're on the rise?
No, I don't think they're on the rise. I think you may be hearing about them a little more, and I think a lot more people are kind of, talking about it a little more. Maybe I don't know so much that they're on the rise. Just my opinion.
Okay, so Roxy is asking, may I ask Bill's view on the Ouija board? The reason is I find the paranormal community are using them, and I will say, if someone uses the Ouija board, then you know what? That is ignorant. It is stupid. It is irresponsible. Leave them alone. Leave them alone. because I for one, as clergy, am growing tired of people using these boards, contacting me. All hell breaks loose in their home. They expect me to fix it. This is, folks, leave it alone. Bill, have you had any cases where, in fact, you have there was, for example, violent or malevolent spirit or even demonic activity because of the use of a Ouija board?
Yes, several.
Wow.
I do believe the same thing with you about the Ouija board, but slightly different.
Okay.
There's one difference I have that I talk about, that sometimes goes against what people think about the Ouija boards. One, first of all, I do not really condone it I know paranormal teams that use it. I don't condone it for an investigation. That, to me, that's not what you should do. But what I explain to people is probably what you tell them. They are very dangerous. But here's the thing. It's not the Ouija board.
That's
right. The board is not a magical device.
Yes.
It's a piece of wood. Before they had that, people used to draw that on tables and use a cup. And it's not that. It's your intent of what you're doing. And knowing how to properly do it. Look, I played around with it when I was young. I was stupid with that too.
Yeah.
But it's really not something you should play around with, because the chance of something happening is there and it's real. And like Joe Frankie was the one that always told me, and I will say this, I hope he's wrong with this. He said, demons don't work on your time, they work on their time. So if you play with the Ouija board when you're 15 and you open something up, that demon may come back when you're 60 100%. At your lowest moment and then come after you.
I've been preaching that for 25 years. This is what drives me crazy. And this is why I don't understand why people can't connect these dots. When you're using a Ouija board, it is a form of possession. Because when you have the board and you have the planchette on the board, you are asking a spirit whose identity you have no idea you're connecting to. You are allowing them to control your motor functions, your hands, to move the planchette.
Right.
That in of itself is a form of possession. So why would anybody do this? Why would you surrender your skeletal system, your muscular system, to a spirit to be able to control and manipulate your body to push the planchette? That is so it's irresponsible. It is dangerous. And why people do it, it drives me. And you're right. It's all about intent. Dangerous stuff. Dangerous stuff. This is a great question. And there's a lot of great questions, actually. What is your favorite device when you investigate? Is there a particular favorite device you're like, yeah, this is perfect? Nicole's asking.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, there's no better piece of equipment than a digital recorder. Because when, a lot of tools we use are flawed, and there are things that can set them off naturally. An audio recorder, especially some of the older recorders we use, I still even have some that have, tapes in them. It's tough now because you always have to use a new tape so that you don't have a chance of, something still being on there from the last thing. If you erase it, there's still remnants of it. But to me, those old recorders, they're so hard to even get from the recorder to the computer to try to manipulate them. But if you ask a question and you get a direct response, and when I say direct response, I mean something clear, not all the static. You have to be able to weed that out, or else your mind just does audio pareidolia and you start hearing things that aren't there. But when you hear something clear as day, to me, that is some of the best evidence you can capture. Video is very hard.
Is there a particular digital recorder that we know the real expensive ones, but is there a particular one that you really, really like?
There's a couple. There's a Sony, I think it's ST, I'm going to get this wrong, the 25 and the 10. The 25 is really good. Of course, I do have a DR60 because I did not pay those prices for it though. But I do have one, and I do use it a lot. And I will say this, we have captured, me and other people that have their own, some of the most compelling EVPs ever on those recorders. But 90% of the time, it is not anything, or it could be. You just can't. It's just static. You have to understand that the recorder is flawed. So as long as you can understand that, you will get good ones from it sometimes. I've had some that were so clear. I mean, we had one up using a DR60 up here at the Riddle House that actually they were asking a question directed straight to me, and it said he's dead, and it actually talked over the person asking the question. And then I had an attachment for 2 weeks.
Oh,
one of the
wow.
rare times.
Wow.
Yeah. So
now, Michael is asking on Facebook about scrying. For those of you who don't know what scrying is, it's referred to as seeing or peeping. It's divination, fortune telling. Basically, it involves gazing
Right.
to a medium, hoping to receive significant visions, etc., messages. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, you know, I've never personally done it. I know people who do many different types of scrying, water, mirrors, all types of different things. And, you know, it's like anything else. I mean, what you're doing is a form of communication.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance of getting something. We had, I work real closely with War Party Paranormal, which Scotty used to be part of. They are great people. They are really good investigators. They're amazing builders. They build a lot of equipment, and they've used some things that are similar to scrying, but using smoke. And you've seen some interesting things to it. You know, it's a tough thing with scrying because it's kind of like, you know, you have to try to balance the difference between, is it something real or is it something your mind is playing a trick on you? Because, you know, we do have a thing called pareidolia, which is your mind, you know, trying to make something familiar out of something unfamiliar.
Like the clouds. You look at the clouds and there's an animal there. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So your mind looks for that. So, and especially if you're doing this, that's what you're doing. You're looking for something. So I believe it's possible. It's just like anything with a Ouija board, like anything that you're doing that's a communication, you're gonna get some responses from it. I know people who swear by it, you know.
And you said that's War Party Paranormal?
Yes.
Yep.
That was Scotty's team.
Okay. Now, Starla is asking on TikTok, and again, folks, I'm trying to get, because there's if you're asking multiple questions, I'm trying to get to them. There's a lot of people asking questions, so we got to be fair. But I've opened up the chat for everybody on TikTok. So if you would like to ask a question, for those of you just joining us, we're talking to my friend, Dr. Bill Slevin. He's a paranormal investigator, parapsychologist, demonologist, researcher, educator, 36 years of experience, PhD in parapsychology, metaphysical, humanistic science. And so, of course, he also has his team that he founded, Paranormal Existence Research Society. But it's a pretty interesting name. It's a cool name, by the way, Paranormal Existence Research Society. So she asked, and I asked for clarification. She says, do paranormal investigators have to conjure anything out? And I was like, well, I need clarification on the word conjuring. I think she's referring to, do you have to basically call them out to get evidence to provoke? What is your experience on that?
Well, you should never, ever provoke, Amen. In my opinion. We don't provoke. The only time we provoke is me, if I'm on a case trying to assess if it could be demonic, because you have to provoke a little bit there to find out. You know, that's one of the things we say that is dangerous for people who don't understand things. If they go into a home and maybe it is something demonic in there, but they don't know, they're just used to, you know, a ghost, and they start throwing holy water around and saying prayers, that's going to provoke it, and that's going to call it out, and now they're not going to know what to do. So I would stay far away from provoking anything. You know, we do see it on shows, and again, it's entertainment at times, but they're also in real places using real equipment, and they can easily provoke something. And I'm sure, and we do know, I will say we do know, some of them have had problems, you know.
Again, for those of you on TikTok, I've opened up the chat for everybody. We had to close the chat because, you know, imagine there were some trolls coming in and being really disrespectful. So Can you imagine that? Amber's asking on TikTok, was there ever a case that you had to walk away from?
Well, yes, I will say yes. I have never walked away from a case. I will never turn people away. I've had people that gave us such problems, as you know, and we went back and forth, back and forth. I usually don't walk away. The only time I ever walked away from a case when we did research on the people and found them to be very violent, with violent past crimes and many different charges on them, to where there was no way I was bringing my team into that house.
Yeah, I get
so
that.
Not on the paranormal side.
Now, Didi is on TikTok is asking, can an entity, or has an entity ever followed you home if you go someplace else? Let's say you go to a location, it's known to have activity, you go back home, followed you home, or you go to another location. Have you ever had that experience?
I've had things follow me home a few times. Most of the time, this is where I believe people get confused too when we say attachments. So attachment doesn't always mean it's a ghost, sitting on your shoulders. It could mean that they just threw their negative energy on you, and now you're dealing with that negative energy. So like a lot of places, I tell them, like if you go to Waverly Hills or places like that, very rare something's going to follow you out of there because they're attached to that place. But if you provoke it and piss it off, it can throw its energy on you, and come home with your energy. Their energy comes home with you, or something can follow you, but that's more, in my opinion, more rare that it just follows you out of there.
Sure.
I've had it a bunch of times. It's not fun. It is something that you won't realize what it is at first, because you're sick, you're having bad luck. I had to get the last one. I had to get cleansed and blessed and to get it off me, and it was a little bit of a nuisance. So I mean, be cautious anytime you go on anything, even if it's a ghost tour. Just be respectful. That's the only thing you have to worry about. You're not going to go on a ghost tour and encounter demons. It doesn't work like that.
And Dawn is asking on TikTok, for those of you just joining us, we're having our Paranormal Friday conversation. And Dawn is asking on TikTok, how do you explain a ghost device saying someone's name? She was at her grandmother's grave, and it said mom's name. Oh, she said mom's name over and over and over.
Was this a device or was this an app? Because I'll tell you the difference.
Okay, so
if it was a device,
okay,
yeah.
So Don, you'll have to clarify, was it an actual device? I have a feeling it was probably an app, but other way, Don, just let us know either way. That way you can clarify. And Jax is asking, what do you feel about the ghost box? Is it similar to a voice recorder, and your thoughts on that? She says an app. It was an app.
Again, is that the app, the ghost box app? Oh no, a spirit box. Okay.
Yeah. Don says hers was Don says hers was an app. And then Jax is asking the spirit. Yeah, the ghost box.
Okay. So the app, the problem is it depends on where you were, what you were talking about. Like I said, some of them use active listening. So they hear what you're asking. They can actually pull names from your contact list. Just because it doesn't ask you if you give permission to use the stuff on your phone, it doesn't mean it doesn't. It's very known that it does. So it's tough to say on that. I don't want to say it, definitely not, but I would think it was pulling something somehow from what you guys were talking about or the area. But it is possible. If it kept saying it repeated, it is possible because it does use a word bank. So if it's repeating a name, that's a little more, on the side of it could be something.
Sure.
Now with spirit boxes, ghost boxes, they are one of those big things out there that have a lot of controversy to them because, they do scan radio frequencies. So they do get noise and voices and everything from the radio stations. But the box is going very fast. So what I say about this is, again, you also have audio paranoia. If you're sitting there and you're listening to the spirit box and you have 3 people there and they're asking questions and they say something like, did you work here or live here? And you say something like, no, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well, where do you live? And you say, well, I live here. And then the person says, well every person in that room is now, their mind is trained to listen and listen for work or live. So definitely do what's called the Estes method or the Delco experiment.
Yeah.
So what that is you put noise canceling headphones into the spirit box, you put them on your head, and you put either a blindfold for the Estes method or the Delco goggles for the Delco experiment. And that just, all that does is it does red light deprivation into your eyes that enhances your psychic abilities. And when you're listening, you cannot hear what we're asking. All you're doing is yelling out anything you hear. And when you watch the video back later and you see yourself responding to a random word maybe you heard, but it's a direct response to somebody's question, that's where it becomes more real, because they have no influence of what's being asked.
Okay. So again, for those of you just tuning in, so I run the show on 2 different computers. So I got lots of chats open. So I can only ask one question at a time. So just be patient. We're going to wrap things up here pretty soon. But Skip to Grace is asking, where does faith come in for you when doing your work?
For me, faith is it is definitely a big part, especially anything that comes to the demonic side.
Okay.
Because that's the only thing that protects you, and that's the only thing that can really help. We deal with a lot of different faiths. We don't turn anybody away. We'll work with them. We have people on my team that are pretty much every faith you could imagine, that we will work with them with whatever faith they want. But when I go into a house and I'm checking things out, no matter what they think, I'm going to use my faith and what I believe, because that's the only thing that's going to protect all of us. So it does play a big role. I mean, if you're not a very religious person, it doesn't mean you can't become an investigator. I wouldn't try to be a demonologist, but you can still do what you're doing and maybe have somebody else on the team that knows, that has more faith and can help.
And yes, Splendid, to answer your question, the answer is yes. But we're talking paranormal. I'll answer your questions, theological questions in a moment. Lions VSD, and I'm just going to get the whole entire thing. He's asking, or they're asking, what are your, since you're Catholic, you said you were raised Catholic, what are your views on tarot readers and psychics and mediums? They said the Bible's clear on that. So what are your views on this as far as your team, and do you allow it?
Well, this is where I have a different of opinion, maybe, to my faith and stuff. I know a lot of people, even my wife, who is religious, but she does tarot reading. She does energy healing, which is using a pendulum. I believe that if they're doing it for the right reasons and it's to help people, and I believe it is okay. It's nobody on my team will do tarot readings or pendulum things or anything to clients, because that's even psychics on our team. Our psychic is not there to give a reading to the client. They're there to read the room and see what's going on. That's a totally separate thing when you're on a team. So I do support all of that. I just don't support it on my team as a form of investigation. The pendulum is a little different because my wife does that for energy healing, and that's a different story. But that's how I feel on it.
Fair enough. And again, for those of you who are on TikTok, I did put the sub chat on earlier because the trolls were coming in and being very aggressive and rude and disrespectful. So we don't allow that here. We're all adults. We don't put up with the nonsense. And then I turned it off. And as long as people are kind and respectful, I'll leave the chat for everybody. But again, I'm not going to apologize for placing a sub chat on when people come in and say some pretty vile things, and then people get upset because I put sub chat on. Go figure. Anyway, so let's see. Oh, one more question, then we'll wrap this up. Tara is asking, what would be a good equipment to start investigating with, in your opinion?
get a recorder. That's the first thing.
Mhm.
If you want to film what you're doing, get some kind of camera. I will tell you right now, it is very, very rare that you capture anything on video. You can get EMF readers. I do like the spirit boxes. They are very good, as long as you know how to use them.
Mm.
But for me, those are kind of the basic things to start out. It's different if you go into a person's house, but doing just regular investigations at places, those are your basic things that will come in the most handy, in my opinion.
Okay, and guys, we're not closing the show out. I'm just, I've held our friend here for 30 minutes, a little later than we anticipated. So again, just to clarify, as a Catholic, as you are, you personally are not going out saying that people are going to burn the fiery pits of hell if they are a psychic medium.
Wait, I missed the last of that question. Sorry.
So you, as a Catholic, so you're a Catholic. Are you
Yes.
okay with people saying, "Look, I have a gift from God. I am a psychic. I'm a medium." As a Catholic, are you okay with that, or do you say, "No, you're practicing divination. You should not do that"?
No, I'm not against them.
Okay,
I'm not against them.
Well, fair
I'm against the ones that are out there taking advantage of people.
Taking
not
advantage,
in the faith way, but in the humane way.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So, first of all, how can people get in touch with you besides obviously the email that you presented? Is there any way that they can do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my website is the easiest. It's very simple. It's billslevin.com.
Okay.
All my social media is Slevin Paranormal. So TikTok, YouTube. And I just want to say, even though I'm an IT guy, and I do know a lot about social media, I have been so busy over the years with so many things and taking care of so many cases, I don't get to do a lot of social media. I am working on it more now. Like this year, you will see my YouTube channel. It's there. It just doesn't have a lot on it yet. The same thing with TikTok. It's Slevin Paranormal. Instagram, Slevin Paranormal. That's the easiest way to find me. My website has all the links for everything. If you want help, you can either reach me on there, or my team site is PERSFL.com. And you can fill out a form there that will go right to me, and we will try to get you the best help we can get.
Well, okay.
Yeah. No, that's it.
Well, I appreciate you being here. I truly do. And we will wait. I'll address any other questions a little later. Then we'll do that in just a second. But I really appreciate you jumping on and chatting with us. So thank you so much for doing that.
I appreciate you having me on. I do. And I had a good time. And one more thing, if anybody does have any questions concerning equipment, concerning their photo or their video, whatever, they can email me anytime, and I will give them advice on anything, even for things like what's the best protection, anything. I am always here to help. That's why I do this.
I appreciate that, because that's a lot of these equipment's pretty tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is.
It's not easy. I mean, some of these you have to almost have a PhD just to figure out how to push the button and turn it on.
Yes, there's a lot that is real difficult.
It is. I'm just naturally blind. Well, thank you so much again, Bill, and I'll reach out to you after the show a little bit later on and properly thank you. And I appreciate you taking the time.
All right. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. That was our buddy, Bill. So we appreciate that. I certainly do. People are mentioning a lot about Deuteronomy. That's fine. I'm concerned with people loving to throw, Deuteronomy around and judging groups of people and saying they're doing evil, et cetera, but yet they're not following all the other rules. I find that interesting. For example, the dietary laws also in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 3 through 21, includes restrictions on consuming certain types of animals, such as pork and shellfish. So therefore, if you're eating those animals, we're supposed to unalive you. That's what Deuteronomy says. The ritual purity also in Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 1 through 8, where it also regulations related to bodily discharges, infections, menstruations that were considered impure. Do you follow that? Probably not. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5, laws on clothing and prohibitions against wearing clothing made by mixed fabrics. It's interesting you use Deuteronomy, but I guarantee you're wearing clothing right now that's mixed fabrics. Do you follow that law? Probably not. By the way, there's also laws on farming and agriculture. Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 9 through 11. You do not want to have a theological conversation with me. Because there's laws on farming and agriculture in Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 9 through 11, that clearly states there's restrictions on planting different types of crops together and using oxen and donkeys to plow the same field. And by the way, if you eat food that where the planting is actually together, you're actually considered unclean. What about Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 through 4? Do you want to talk about that as well? There's laws on divorce and remarriage. There's guidelines on specifying conditions under which a man could divorce his wife and remarry her again, but she can't divorce her husband. If she does, it's considered adultery. Now, do you want to have a theological conversation with me and throw up Deuteronomy in which you want to judge another group of individuals? Because if you do, you will lose. Probably not. Okay. Sorry, there was just an individual that was consistently throwing out Deuteronomy and judging our friend Bill. And yet, when your theological degree is from a PhD crackerjack box, you will not win against him who actually studied theology and scripture. Now, before I was rudely interrupted, allow me to return. All right. So thank you very much, Bill. We appreciate that. Satan is coming for you. Oh, boy. Here we go. All right. Hold on. Hold on, everybody. Satan is coming for you. It's a violin. Come on, trolls. I'm playing this song for you. I practice a lot. Pretty good. I've composed that myself. Okay. It's called, the name of the song is called Wah Trolls. You know, Wah Trolls. Okay, be blessed and be blocked. So anyway, before I was really interrupted. Okay, yeah, Splendid. What you can do is go to usocc.org, and there's a lot of information there for you. So yeah, certainly do so. Yeah, that was Judy Ann. Judy Ann sent me the smallest, the world's smallest violin. So anytime trolls come in and I don't like you and I don't like this and I don't like that, I just play the world's smallest violin because I really don't care. This is my advice to all of you. Never accept criticism from a troll because you'll never go to them for advice. So why waste your time listening to what they got to say because there's nothing they have to say that's actually intelligent. So therefore, you just block and move. Just move on. There you go. I do believe in Bigfoot. Nunya, there's a great name. Great name from TikTok. Nunya is asking, do I believe in Bigfoot? I do. And I'll tell you why. I've had this particular show for 23 years, The Sacred Division. And I actually spoke, I spoke to he was really interesting, a game warden in Alaska. And he was a native Alaskan. And he's a game warden. And I asked him a really fair question. I said, well, maybe, because he absolutely swears he saw a Bigfoot. He's a native Alaskan, born and bred. He's lived in the woods all his life. And I said, well, maybe you saw a bear or a moose. And he was very kind when he said this, but it was very straightforward. And he said, Bishop, if I don't know the difference between a bear and a moose and a bipedal 8-foot creature, then I probably shouldn't be a game warden in the state of Alaska. He had a point. I mean, he's a native Alaskan. They're in the woods. Hello there, Goddess Lord. They're in the woods. That's what they do. And he's not selling books. He's not doing any of that stuff. He just said, look, I know what I saw it. And he absolutely swears that he saw a Bigfoot. No ifs, ands, or buts. You're not going to change. You will not change his mind. I said, well, could have been a grizzly. And again, he says, I know the difference between a grizzly and a bipedal creature that walks And I said, well, no, I mean, there have been, grizzlies that have walked, a little bit. Anyway, I tried my best to challenge him, but there was no way he was going to change his mind. Thank you guys for the gifts. So because of that, I believe there is something going on. Pamela. I believe there's something going on with the Bigfoot. Now, personally, Mr. Producer, I really would love to have someone who is a real professional. And no, it's not. I wouldn't say they're ghosts because they actually, you can clearly see them. They're fully. I mean, they're solid. I would love to have an expert, a true expert on with Bigfoot. So if you know anybody, let us know, because I think that would be. And I'm not talking about somebody who's read or watched YouTube videos in Bigfoot and said, well, there's a Bigfoot out there. It's like, okay. Here's the deal. There's a lot of people who talk about, for example, demons. There's a lot of people. Thank you. And there's a lot of people who go on social media and they make videos on demons. And they act like they're experts on demons. And yet they have never worked a demonic case a day in their life. Never once. They watch YouTube video or any of these videos, and now they're experts on demonology. Pay no mind to those people, with all due respect. There's a big difference between watching a video and regurgitating the information that you learn versus actually being properly trained and working cases. There's a big difference between that. It's not the same. Yeah, I'm from Kentucky. So sometimes you're right. I don't speak from Kentucky, but sometimes that Kentucky twang can come out. I promise you, it's there. I just suppress it. Usually when I'm dealing with trolls, the Kentucky twang comes out because I have to be able to relate to them. So then I reduce the brain cells, and then they understand. I do the best I can. I try. So. And that's right. Yeah. And even Native American tribes are quite clear that not only are they convinced that Bigfoot exists, but also even UFOs. So, by the way, don't forget, friends, listen to this, guys. Next week's show is going to be just as great as this show. There's an individual that I actually saw on TikTok, and I reached out to him and I said, please be on the show. He escaped from North Korea twice. That in of itself is a miracle. That truly is a miracle. And the fact is that he escaped twice from North Korea. And he is going to be on the show next Friday to talk about his experience. That, I know that it's a Paranormal Friday show. But I really wanted to have him on the Friday night show because it's such an interesting case. So make sure that you show up, ask questions, and we will ask him. It's not often. Yeah, he is. He's in the United States, but it is not often that you find someone who escaped North Korea, first of all, once, let alone twice. And it's going to be really remarkable. So he's an articulate young man, and boy, the story, wow. So it's going to be so we're looking forward to it. Yes. Okay. It is frightening. I don't know who the Derby, I don't know, because unfortunately, I've been so busy. Well, I don't want to get into, I don't want to get ahead of myself and tell you his story and why he went back. No. So you'll have to tune in next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live. We'll have him on the show. Now look at this. This is interesting. For those of you who are gamers out there, TK Randall writes this. There is a bizarre Bigfoot simulation video game. It lets you live as Sasquatch. Well, if you've ever wanted to roam around the forest as a cryptozoological hominid, well, now you can. Developed by Planet 47 Games, the game enables the player to become Bigfoot and engage in all typical activities that you might expect a tall, hairy bipedal, that means walking on two legs, ape-like beast to spend its time on. So catch and eat fish, insects, and other creatures. That's the game. The game synopsis states: forage the forest, that means eat them. The forest, mushrooms, berries, and more. Build shelters to store your items to get through the harsh winters. Earn extra points by breaking branches and scaring the wildlife. The game has its share of obstacles too, from Bigfoot hunters who try to take pictures of you to adverse weather conditions. The game, by the way, is called Bigfoot Life. I think I might have to check this out. It is the latest example. Mr. Producer, you have to check this out too. It's called Bigfoot Life. It is the latest example of the highly popular simulator game genre, which seeks to simulate things that you wouldn't normally expect to see simulated, like a Bigfoot life. And one of the weirdest examples, believe it or not, there is a game, a simulation. The game is called I Am Jesus Christ. This is a true story. The game is called I Am Jesus Christ. It is still in development, but aims to enable the players to role play as Jesus, complete with performing miracles and walking on water. There's also a highly popular goat simulator series. Really? I mean, really? What's the excitement of that? Nah. I mean, okay. Well, anyway, what's next? A Loch Ness Monster simulator? Well, you can find all of the above mentioned games on the Stream platform for PC. So anyway, there it is, everybody. If you want to be Bigfoot, the game is called Bigfoot Life, and you can learn how to live your life as Bigfoot. Fun. And anyway, the I Am Jesus Christ, boy, that's still in development. That's crazy. And really, think of this, a highly popular series, Bigfoot. I'm not Bigfoot, a goat simulator. Have any of you played this? I'm legitimately, I am honestly, I'm curious. Have any of you've played it, Bill? Oh, come on. I'm curious. Has anyone played this? User on TikTok says it's one of your favorite games. Okay. I have to do this. Okay. So what you're saying to me is there is a goat simulator, and well, hold on. Yeah, most of them, most of the orbs are nonsense. I'm trying to find this. Hold on. So here we go. That was fun. You could be a bird simulator next. Okay, so is that what you do? It just baz or oh, shut up. Well, that was fun. I guess I won. Okay. Anyway, for those of you who are listening to this on our podcast, I say good night to you and have a very blessed evening. I want to remind everybody that tonight In 1 hour from now, we're going to open up the chat to everybody because we have night prayer. So please make sure that you stay with me, TikTok. I'll be with you guys in a moment. If you like to stick around with us, you certainly can. I will have this on podcast, and all you have to do is simply go to Bishop James Long and click on the social media links. You'll see it on Spreaker. But for those of you on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and KGRADB Radio and everywhere else, we certainly appreciate you guys being here. And remember, your value does not decrease based on a troll's inability or refusal to see your worth. You're priceless. And don't let any goat or troll tell you otherwise. Good night, guys.